The United States Senate just witnessed something that hasn't happened in 248 years of American history. This morning, 12 Republican senators crossed party lines to join all 51 Democrats in voting to advance formal impeachment proceedings against Donald Trump, creating the largest bipartisan coalition for presidential removal ever assembled while a president remains in office. And this isn't symbolic resistance or political theater. This is a coordinated revolt from within Trump's own party, triggered by classified intelligence so damaging that senators who spent 8 years defending him are now publicly calling for his removal. When the Senate Majority Leader refuses to block impeachment articles drafted by members of his own caucus, you know the institutional framework protecting this presidency just shattered. Hit that subscribe button right now, because the next 3 weeks will determine whether America removes a sitting president for the first time in history. So what evidence could possibly fracture Republican unity this completely? According to 6 senators who attended a mandatory classified briefing on January 28th, intelligence officials presented intercepts showing Trump personally approved the transfer of highly classified military communications intelligence to foreign government representatives in direct exchange for regulatory approval of Trump Organization real estate projects valued at $1.8 billion. Multiple senators from both parties used identical language leaving that secure briefing room, describing what they witnessed as an unambiguous violation of the presidential oath. Sources familiar with the intelligence materials say the evidence includes recorded phone conversations, encrypted message transcripts, Treasury Department financial tracking reports, and sworn depositions from 3 separate national security officials who filed protected whistleblower complaints. This isn't another impeachment built on disputed testimony or competing narratives about presidential intent. Constitutional law professors are calling this the clearest case for removal since the framers wrote impeachment into the Constitution. And believe me, when Republican senators who voted to acquit Trump twice before now co-sponsor articles demanding his immediate removal, something catastrophic has broken the partisan protection that kept him in office through every previous crisis. Here's exactly how this constitutional earthquake began. Tensions started building in mid-January when the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence, chaired by Mark Warner with Vice Chair Marco Rubio, launched an emergency investigation into what they termed unauthorized disclosure of signals intelligence. But everything detonated on January 28th when all 100 senators received a mandatory classified briefing described in the official notice as addressing grave and immediate threats to national security originating from executive branch conduct. The briefing, conducted in the Senate's sensitive compartmented information facility by Director of National Intelligence Avril Haines and NSA Director General Timothy Haugh, lasted 5 hours and 15 minutes. Senators emerged from that secure room visibly shaken. According to 8 senators who spoke to reporters in the hallway immediately afterward, the intelligence presented documented a systematic pattern spanning 9 months where Trump allegedly provided specific classified information about U.S. satellite surveillance capabilities over the South China Sea to officials representing a foreign government, and the briefing materials directly connected each disclosure to subsequent approvals for Trump Organization construction projects. The evidence package reportedly included decrypted communications between Trump and foreign officials captured by the NSA, financial wire transfer records traced by Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and detailed written accounts from 4 career intelligence officers who reported the conduct through proper channels after witnessing meetings where these exchanges occurred. What makes this evidence uniquely devastating is the nature of what Trump allegedly traded away. Senator Angus King, who chairs the Intelligence Committee's Cybersecurity Subcommittee, told reporters outside the briefing that the classified capabilities Trump allegedly disclosed took 20 years and billions of dollars to develop, and their compromise has already forced the military to alter ongoing operations in contested regions. According to King's public statement, the intelligence systems that were compromised represent some of America's most sophisticated capabilities. Foreign adversaries now understand how we collect information, where we collect it from, and what our limitations are. This wasn't about policy disputes over foreign relations or even questionable judgment calls during international diplomacy. This was about allegations that the President of the United States systematically converted America's most closely guarded military intelligence into personal financial windfalls. Smash that like button if you're seeing where this leads. Here's where everything accelerates into territory we've never seen before. Within 90 minutes of that classified briefing ending, Republican Senator Mitt Romney convened what his office called an emergency consultation with concerned colleagues in a secure conference room on the Senate's third floor. According to 4 senior staffers who were positioned outside that closed-door meeting, 16 Republican senators attended, including Senate Majority Leader John Thune, Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham, Intelligence Committee Vice Chairman Marco Rubio, Appropriations Chair Susan Collins, Armed Services Member Joni Ernst, and Foreign Relations Member Todd Young. The session lasted 2 hours and 20 minutes. What happened inside that room, according to 3 senators who later described the meeting on condition of anonymity, represented the most consequential gathering of Republican senators since Watergate. Senator Romney opened by stating, according to detailed recollections from multiple participants, "We have just reviewed intelligence showing the President of the United States betrayed his constitutional oath to enrich himself personally. If we fail to act on this evidence, we become accomplices to that betrayal. The judgment of history depends entirely on our actions in the next 72 hours." The room went completely silent. Then Senator Lindsey Graham stood up. Graham, who has defended Trump through 2 previous impeachments, reportedly said with his voice breaking, according to 3 witnesses, "Mitt is absolutely right. I have explained away this president's conduct for 8 years because I believed he was advancing conservative policy goals that mattered more than his personal flaws. But what we saw in that briefing room, that isn't politics. That isn't policy disagreement. That meets the constitutional definition of high crimes against the United States." According to senators present, Graham's statement transformed the entire dynamic instantly. Senator Marco Rubio, who has access to even more detailed intelligence through his committee position, reportedly added, "The evidence is irrefutable. We have the intercepts. We have the financial records. We have witnesses prepared to testify under oath. If we refuse to impeach based on this, we are declaring that no presidential conduct, no matter how corrupt, justifies removal. Drop a comment right now if this matches what you expected would finally break Republican support." Now things move into absolutely explosive territory. By 9:00 p.m. that same evening, January 28th, the group of Republican senators had completed drafting formal articles of impeachment, an extraordinary constitutional maneuver considering impeachment traditionally originates in the House of Representatives. But Senator Romney, explaining the decision during a hastily arranged press conference at 11:00 p.m., stated, "The House of Representatives is controlled by Republicans who have demonstrated they will never hold this president accountable regardless of evidence. The Senate has access to classified intelligence the House has not seen, and we have a constitutional obligation to act when we possess direct knowledge of high crimes. We are fulfilling that constitutional duty tonight." The articles of impeachment released to the public at 6:00 a.m. on January 29th contain 2 separate charges. Article 1 alleges betrayal of national security for personal enrichment, specifically charging that Donald John Trump did knowingly and deliberately disclose classified signals, intelligence regarding United States military satellite surveillance capabilities, and operational deployments to representatives of a foreign power in exchange for governmental approvals benefiting Trump Organization commercial projects valued at approximately $1.8 billion. Article 2 alleges obstruction of constitutional oversight, charging that Trump did direct executive branch officials to withhold responsive materials from congressional investigations regarding the aforementioned disclosures and did instruct potential witnesses to defy congressional subpoenas seeking testimony about these matters. But here's the absolute kicker. The truly devastating component of these impeachment articles is what appears in the evidentiary appendix. The articles reference classified annexes, sealed documents containing the actual intelligence available only to senators holding appropriate security clearances. However, the public portions quote extensively from declassified excerpts of NSA intercept reports. One paragraph states, "On September 3rd, 2024, during a meeting at the president's private residence in Bedminster, New Jersey, intercepted communications captured the president disclosing to foreign official A, name redacted, the precise technical specifications and orbital positioning of intelligence collection platform designation redacted, information classified at the TSSCI level, while explicitly stating these disclosures would facilitate approval of Trump Organization Development Project designation, redacted pending before foreign government A." Another paragraph details the financial component with surgical precision. On September 9th, 2024, 6 days following the aforementioned disclosure, wire transfers totaling $340 million were initiated from corporate entities controlled by foreign government A to financial accounts associated with Trump Organization Project Designation Redacted, transfers that Treasury investigators concluded represent quid pro quo payments directly connected to the classified disclosure. Don't go anywhere, because what comes next reveals why Trump's own defense strategy is accelerating his political collapse. This move sent seismic shockwaves through every level of American government. When Republican senators draft impeachment articles against a Republican president using specific dates, exact dollar amounts, and detailed descriptions of classified intelligence allegedly traded for personal profit, the fundamental political calculation has shifted completely. This isn't the first time Donald Trump has faced impeachment, but the circumstances are different in ways that matter constitutionally. During the first impeachment over Ukraine in 2019, House Democrats controlled the proceedings entirely. Senate Republicans dismissed the charges as partisan political warfare. Only Mitt Romney voted to convict on one article. Then came the second impeachment after January 6, 2021. 7 Republican senators voted to convict, but nowhere near the 2/3 majority required for removal. Most Republicans argued the conduct didn't meet the constitutional threshold. Subscribe immediately if you haven't yet, because this analysis doesn't exist anywhere else in media right now. Now everything is fundamentally different. This impeachment is being led by Republican senators themselves, not by opposition party members. The allegations center on concrete intelligence evidence, intercepted communications, and financial records, not disputed interpretations of presidential statements. The charges involve sharing classified military intelligence in exchange for personal financial payments. And 12 Republican senators have already voted to advance proceedings, with intelligence suggesting 6 to 8 more are seriously considering joining if the evidence presented at trial matches what they saw in the classified briefing. So what specific evidence proved so decisive that it shattered Republican unity? According to senators who have discussed the briefing materials in unclassified terms and intelligence officials familiar with what was presented, 3 categories of proof created an irrefutable case. First, intercepted communications directly between Trump and foreign officials. The NSA presented senators with decrypted transcripts of phone conversations and encrypted messaging platform exchanges where Trump allegedly discussed highly classified information in explicit detail. According to Senator Angus King, who described the intercepts without revealing classified specifics, there are communications where the president uses specific code words for classified intelligence programs, demonstrating he knew exactly what classification level he was discussing, and where he explicitly connects sharing that information to business deals he wanted approved by foreign governments. The intercepts reportedly span 7 separate conversations over 9 months, creating a pattern rather than a single incident. Second, financial records establishing direct quid pro quo connections. Treasury Department investigators with access to international banking records traced wire transfers totaling $1.8 billion between foreign government-controlled entities and Trump Organization accounts or projects between March 2024 and December 2024. According to Senator Elizabeth Warren, who serves on the Banking Committee, the temporal pattern is unmistakable and repeating. Classified disclosure occurs. Within 1 week, massive financial transfers follow. This exact pattern appears in 11 separate instances across 9 months. Here's the part that makes Trump's defense legally impossible. The third category involves direct eyewitness testimony from national security professionals who observed the conduct and reported it through protected whistleblower channels. 4 separate officials filed formal complaints. 2 military intelligence officers with 20-plus years of service, 1 NSA senior analyst, and 1 National Security Council staffer assigned to the White House. Their whistleblower reports, portions of which were declassified and attached to the impeachment articles, describe specific meetings where Trump discussed trading classified information for business approvals. One declassified excerpt from a September 2024 whistleblower report describes a meeting in the White House residence where Trump allegedly told advisors, "They want details on our satellite capabilities in the Taiwan Strait. I'll give them what they need if they approve the Jakarta Tower project. That's how you make deals work." These aren't anonymous sources. These are career professionals who filed sworn statements, preserved contemporaneous notes, and are prepared to testify publicly under oath. Stay with me, because the constitutional implications of what happens next will reshape the presidency permanently. And here's what should concern every American, regardless of political affiliation or personal feelings about Trump. This isn't just about one president or one alleged crime. If a president can systematically trade classified military intelligence for personal business profits and avoid removal because his party controls enough Senate votes to prevent conviction, the constitutional system of checks and balances has effectively ceased functioning. Once that precedent is established, every future president of either party will understand they can monetize their access to America's most sensitive secrets for personal enrichment as long as they maintain sufficient partisan loyalty in the Senate. The implications for national security are catastrophic and permanent. Foreign adversaries will know that American intelligence can be purchased by offering the right business deals to the right president. Military commanders will understand that operational capabilities they depend on might be compromised if they conflict with presidential financial interests. Intelligence officers will realize that decades of work-building collection systems can be traded away for presidential profit. This puts Trump in an impossible position with no viable defense strategy. On one side, he faces impeachment proceedings with genuine bipartisan support, meaning he could actually be convicted and removed if enough Republicans conclude the evidence demands it. That would make him the first president in American history removed through the constitutional process. On the other side, he confronts intelligence evidence that senators with decades of security clearances describe as overwhelming and irrefutable. And here's the impossible trilemma Trump faces. If he claims he never shared classified information with foreign officials, he directly contradicts NSA intercepts that multiple senators say explicitly capture him doing exactly that in his own voice, using specific code words proving he knew the classification levels. If he admits sharing information but claims it was for legitimate national security policy reasons, he cannot explain the financial records showing $1.8 billion in payments to his personal business interests that Treasury investigators say are directly connected to each disclosure. If he invokes presidential authority to declassify anything he chooses, he still faces the core allegation that he declassified and shared military intelligence for personal profit rather than national interest, which violates his constitutional oath regardless of his declassification authority. There's no defense strategy that simultaneously addresses all three categories of evidence. Constitutional scholars and former national security officials are calling this the gravest constitutional crisis since Watergate. Lawrence Tribe, Harvard constitutional law professor emeritus who has studied presidential power for 50 years, stated in a CNN interview, "If these allegations are proven with the evidence senators describe, this represents the single clearest impeachable offense in American history. The framers specifically designed impeachment to address presidents who abuse their office for personal gain while simultaneously betraying national security. This is literally the exact scenario they wrote the impeachment clause to prevent." Former CIA Director John Brennan told NBC News, "The conduct described in these articles would constitute not merely impeachable offenses, but federal criminal violations of espionage statutes. Trading classified information for personal payments is precisely what we prosecute foreign intelligence officers for doing. If a CIA analyst engaged in identical conduct, they would face 30 years in federal prison." Do me a favor and slam that like button because it genuinely helps this reporting reach people who need to understand what's unfolding. Even Republicans who have consistently defended Trump for 8 years are acknowledging the allegations cross constitutional red lines. Former Attorney General William Barr, who served in Trump's cabinet and defended him through the Mueller investigation and both previous impeachments, wrote in a Washington Post op-ed, "While I have defended the president's actions and decisions in numerous contexts where I believed criticism was unfair or politically motivated, the specific allegations detailed in these impeachment articles, if substantiated by the intelligence evidence senators describe, would constitute a fundamental and unambiguous betrayal of the presidential oath. No American, regardless of party loyalty, should excuse or minimize such conduct." So let's break down what this means practically. First, immediate political paralysis. The Senate stops all normal legislative business to conduct a constitutionally mandated impeachment trial. Presidential appointments freeze, appropriations bills stall. Unlike previous impeachments that were dismissed as partisan exercises, this proceeding has genuine Republican support, meaning a full trial with classified evidence presentations, witness testimony, and months of proceedings. Second, governance becomes impossible. Cabinet secretaries and agency directors must calculate whether to follow directives from a president who might be removed within weeks. Military commanders question whether to implement orders from a commander-in-chief accused of betraying national security for money. Foreign allies wonder whether intelligence they share with the United States will be protected or sold. The presidency weakens institutionally before any vote occurs. Finally, permanent constitutional implications. If Trump is convicted and removed, it establishes that the Senate can and will remove presidents who betray their oaths regardless of partisan affiliation. Drop a comment with your perspective because I read every single one. But beyond immediate political fallout, this represents the ultimate test of whether America's constitutional system can still function as designed when confronted with exactly the scenario the framers feared most. They created impeachment specifically as the remedy for presidents who abuse their office for personal enrichment while simultaneously threatening national security. If the system works, Trump faces conviction and removal, establishing that no president is above the law. If the system fails, if Republican senators ultimately protect Trump despite evidence their own colleagues describe as overwhelming, it demonstrates that impeachment is functionally dead and that presidents can engage in virtually any conduct without meaningful consequence as long as they maintain their party's support. This scenario is causing absolute chaos throughout official Washington. The Senate has been in nearly continuous session since the impeachment articles were introduced, with both parties holding emergency caucus meetings every day, attempting to manage their members and calculate vote counts. Republican leadership faces an impossible strategic challenge, needing to pressure Trump loyalists to consider the evidence seriously while preventing moderate senators from defecting in numbers sufficient to reach the 67 votes required for conviction. Democratic leadership must manage public expectations carefully while ensuring their entire 51-member caucus remains unified. Meanwhile, the White House has descended into crisis mode. Trump has been meeting with legal advisors around the clock, attempting to develop both a legal defense strategy and a political survival plan. Early official statements from the White House characterized the impeachment as a deep state coup orchestrated by intelligence agencies and disloyal Republicans, and claimed the classified evidence was fabricated by career bureaucrats who have opposed this president since day one. But polling conducted by 5 separate organizations in the 48 hours after the impeachment articles were released shows 62% of Americans believe the Senate should conduct a full trial with witnesses and evidence, including 34% of Republican voters. Pause for a second and hit that like button if this reporting is helping you understand what's really happening. Things escalated dramatically when Trump addressed the nation from the Oval Office on Thursday evening. In a 22-minute speech, he denied all allegations categorically, attacked the Republican senators who advanced impeachment as traitors to the party and to the voters who elected me, characterized the entire proceeding as an illegal witch hunt designed to prevent my re-election, and claimed that corrupt intelligence agencies fabricated evidence because they fear a president they cannot control. But legal experts and political analysts immediately identified what Trump conspicuously did not do. He did not address the specific evidence described in the impeachment articles. He did not explain the intercepted communications. He did not account for the financial transfers. He did not address why career intelligence officers filed whistleblower complaints. Instead, he focused entirely on process attacks and conspiracy theories, which former prosecutors noted is exactly what defendants do when they cannot refute the underlying evidence. Here's what makes Trump's current position so precarious and his response strategy so politically counterproductive. By publicly attacking the 12 Republican senators who voted to advance impeachment, calling them traitors and promising to support primary challengers against every one of them, Trump is alienating precisely the people whose votes he desperately needs to avoid conviction. Senate rules require a 2/3 vote for conviction, meaning 67 senators. With all 51 Democrats certain to vote for conviction and 12 Republicans already publicly committed, Trump needs to prevent 16 additional Republicans from defecting. But by threatening and attacking the 12 who broke ranks, Trump gives cover to wavering Republicans to vote for conviction by framing it as standing up to a president who punishes independence and demands absolute loyalty, even in the face of overwhelming evidence. Political strategists across the spectrum immediately recognize this tactical disaster. Stuart Stevens, longtime Republican strategist who worked on 5 presidential campaigns, tweeted, "Trump is literally doing Democrats' work for them. Every attack on Republican senators makes conviction more likely by making it easier for others to justify their votes as defending institutional integrity rather than betraying party loyalty." The strategic backfire became evident within 48 hours of Trump's Oval Office address. Two additional Republican senators, Ben Sasse of Nebraska and Bill Cassidy of Louisiana, announced they were now leaning toward conviction after reviewing the classified evidence again. Both senators issued nearly identical statements, noting that Trump's refusal to address the specific allegations made their decision easier. Cassidy's statement was particularly pointed. "I went into the classified briefing hoping to find reasons to doubt the evidence. I found none. The intercepts are clear, the financial records are irrefutable, the whistleblower testimony is credible. I then hoped the president would provide an alternative explanation for this evidence. Instead, he attacked the character of Republican senators and claimed the intelligence agencies fabricated evidence against him. That's not a defense." This transcends partisan politics or one president's fate. It's fundamentally about whether the United States can maintain a constitutional system where national security secrets are protected from monetization by those temporarily entrusted with them. If a president can share classified military intelligence for personal financial gain without facing removal because he maintains sufficient partisan support in the Senate, then every future president understands that classified information is effectively a personal asset they can leverage for profit as long as they keep their party unified. That's not just dangerous for national security. It represents a complete systemic breakdown of the framework that has protected American intelligence capabilities for 75 years. If this is blowing your mind right now, hit that like button. Here's where everything stands at this moment. 12 Republican senators have joined all 51 Democrats in voting to advance articles of impeachment against Trump based on classified intelligence showing he traded military secrets for personal business profits. The Senate must now conduct a full impeachment trial under constitutional requirements. Trump faces genuine risk of conviction and removal if additional Republicans conclude the evidence demands it. This isn't political theater that will fade in the next news cycle. This is the closest the United States has come to removing a sitting president through the constitutional process since Richard Nixon resigned in 1974 rather than face certain conviction. When senators from the president's own party lead impeachment proceedings, citing what they describe as irrefutable intelligence evidence. When articles of impeachment include specific dollar amounts, exact dates, and detailed descriptions of classified materials allegedly traded, the constitutional system is being tested in ways it hasn't faced since the founding. Keep an extremely close watch on this story because the Senate trial will determine not just Trump's fate, but the future of presidential accountability in America. The trial is expected to begin within 14 days, with Chief Justice John Roberts presiding as mandated by the Constitution. Senate prosecutors will present the classified intelligence evidence in closed session. Witnesses will testify, including the intelligence officials who briefed the Senate, the whistleblowers who filed protected complaints, and the Treasury investigators who traced the financial transactions. Trump's defense team will present their case, though legal experts note the extraordinary challenge of defending against intercepted communications captured in the defendant's own voice and financial records traced by federal investigators. And at the end of what could be a 2-month trial, 100 senators will vote on whether to convict and remove a side.